As always, Elliotte Friedman will be a part of tonight's coverage. You can also check out his latest 31 Thoughts column right now at sportsnet.ca. He joins us for 3 of 31, brought to you by the Next Generation 2019 GMC Sierra Denali with the world's first available 6-function multi-pro tailgate. Friedge, welcome back to the show.
My pleasure, boys. I'm doing better than the Braves, as is everyone.
Goodness gracious.
Everyone's doing better than the Braves.
Yes.
11-0 currently now in the top of the 3rd inning for those keeping score at home.
As great as the first round of the NHL's postseason is, there are some dogs in the MLB postseason, let me tell you. All right, Friedge, first things first, James Neal. And Tim and I, we discussed it earlier in the show. Now, I mean, obviously the 4 goals last night, but part of me wants to revisit Calgary. Because the Flames, they took a beating on social media last night, despite the fact there was an interesting game there too. Why did it not work, in your opinion, based on the conversations you've had between James Neal and the organization?
I think it took James Neal a long time to get over the fact that he didn't end up staying in Vegas. He wanted to be a Vegas Golden Knight. They had a 4-year offer on the table. He wanted the 5th. They wouldn't give him the 5th. Calgary was willing to go 5 years. And, you know, it's one of those things, what have I told both of you guys? Don't bleep with happy. Don't bleep with happy. And James Neal was very happy in Vegas, but he got seduced by the extra year in Calgary, and he never left. You know, he never wanted to leave. He talked a lot about Vegas when he was there last year. I think it upset some of the teammates. Mentally, he just was never in the right frame of mind. Start the season, and it never changed. It never got better. And, you know, last year, I remember in the last game of the year for Calgary, when they got knocked out against Colorado, he was a healthy scratch. And, you know, we were talking in the production meeting before the show, you know, how do we all feel about this? And nobody could critique the Flames for doing it because he just hadn't been there all year. So, you know, the warning about all of this is trading a guy when the value is so low. And James Neal's value was low last year, but Calgary just said, we have to move on. We can't have another year of this. And Neal, to his credit, he took his training in the offseason very seriously. If you saw the interview he did with Gene Principe at the end of the game last night, he talked a lot about Gary Roberts, and he also thanked his family and the people who believed in him. But James Neal had to get himself out of where he was last season and into a new frame of mind, and he did that.
You know, it's funny, Sid and I were also talking earlier in the show and just throwing it around, just shooting the breeze, as we often do on this show, Elliotte. And we were talking about if McDavid got a little more help than Draisaitl or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, what the point total would be. And I threw out 150, and I'm like, listen, James Neal's not going to finish with 160 goals this year, and Zach Kassian's got a good start. We're not expecting him to go over 50. But if he gets a little more help from this team, like, he could put up some ridiculous numbers.
I totally agree with that. And, Tim, you shouldn't be so negative as to predict that James Neal won't score 160 goals. Like,
okay.
We're looking for a positive atmosphere around this channel. You know, I agree with that. I mean, I think we always pencil in McDavid for 120, 125 if he's healthy. Like, he can do it. And if Neal continues to score like that, you know, he's going to do even better. You know, and Connor McDavid fought for James Neal. You know, he made it very clear that when this was available, when this was presented to him, he wanted it to happen. He skates with Neal. He knows Neal really well. They're both Gary Roberts guys. You know, McDavid fought for this. And I think that's the other thing, too, that can be a really powerful motivator is James Neal knows that guys like Connor McDavid, they said, let's do it. You have to live up to that. It's tough to look a guy like that in the face and say, yeah, you know, you spoke up for me and I blew it for you. I think that's a very powerful motivator, too.
Yeah, without a doubt. You don't want to let guys down. Last week, you teased us with a little Braden Shen on Wednesday, and lo and behold, on Friday, at the news, Braden Shen had signed a long-term deal. In this week's 31 Thoughts, there are 2 names in there that captured my eye, and I'm sure the eyes of a lot of fans on Canadian franchises who could use a defenseman, because not only is Alex Petrangelo's contract kind of in a difficult spot, especially with the signing of Shen, but you reporting that Roman Josi might be hitting a snag. Is it possible that those two guys could get shopped around?
I think the Yossi one, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Yossi one now that that was written. I think it opened some eyes. It's got some attention locally in Nashville too, from what I understand. Here's the thing with Yossi. I think they progressed really a long way in the summer. He got married, went on his honeymoon, and it slowed down. I think Nashville's going to make a lot of moves to keep this guy. I think they're going to give him the richest deal in Predator history, not counting Shea Weber's, which was an offer sheet. I think they're going to give him a lot of money up front. I think they're going to give him maybe as much of a no-move clause as anyone's ever gotten there, aside from Pekka Rinne. I think the biggest question now is going to be the AAV. I would guess Nashville wants to keep it below or around $9 million, but if Yossi goes on the market, he's going to be closer to Drew Doughty range. And I think at some point in time, they're all going to have to work this out and say, okay, what's the number that's going to make everybody here happy? I can't see Roman Yossi going on the market anytime soon. I think that I still believe this gets done. I just think that it's probably a more difficult path than everybody expected. But I don't see Yossi going on the market. I see that one getting done. With Pietrangelo, I think there's a different situation there. I think that if you read everything that Doug Armstrong's been saying locally and to other media, there's a limit to where they will go. And again, if Pietrangelo goes on the market, he's going to be closer to Drew Doughty. And I think the way I read it, and I could be wrong about this, at some point in time, Pietrangelo may have to make a choice here, because I think there's a limit to how far St. Louis is willing to go, and we'll see where that takes us.
Friedge, Matthew Tkachuk, Drew Doughty.
Yep, loved it.
Does the league office love it?
Why wouldn't they like it?
Just throwing it out there. You know them.
I don't think they've got a problem. I don't think they've got a problem with it at all. I assume you're referring to the amateur lip reading out there last night and the celebration.
All of it, although the amateur lip reading was rather enjoyable. As Tim and Leighton,
as somebody who's been caught amateur lip reading before, you know, I appreciate the skill. Look, I mean, might they say to him, we kind of would prefer the non-Degeneration X gestures? Maybe at some point in time, he no problem with that. Yeah. You know what the best thing was about this is? He yells that, he goes into the boards, he gives the ear, he skates off the ice triumphant, and then he says, yeah, I'd like this feud to be over.
And we're making more of it. Yeah, we blow it up.
No, but you know what? Tkachuk, his answer was great. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I think it's awesome. I think it's dynamic. I think every time these two guys play now, it's going to be the lead into the game. Could I see someone saying, not so much on the chops, maybe, but I don't think anyone's going to make a big deal out of it.
Last one, we got about a minute here, but the Pens get beat up by a beat-up Jet squad.
Yeah.
Crosby's fighting the game before. Is Malkin coming back anytime soon?
At least a month. The one thing is with those injuries, and if it's a meniscus injury or that kind of a soft tissue injury, sometimes, Tim, you don't know until you go in there.
Yeah.
Some guys, one player reached out to me the other day and he said that, one of his teammates, they went in there, they thought it was a month, they went in there and they said, 4 months. Right. So I think they're unsure, and it probably affects a lot of their decision-making. What are you thinking if you're the Penguins and you don't have Malkin for a really extended period of time? It might change everything you consider.
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean they're already on unstable ground, and then you throw that into the mix.
Absolutely.
Friedge, always appreciate when you pop by the show.